Hi, I'm Melba Pearson, also known as the Resident Legal Diva, and it's time for another Ask the Diva, answering your questions about all the craziness going on in this current presidential administration, as well as the legal ramifications. Now, if you're enjoying all of this, please be sure to hit that subscribe button and stay up to date on all the goings on. So, the question of the week comes from Kevin Fordham 9506. And the question is, how many Black people are in this president's cabinet? So that's a very good question because I was like, I don't actually know the answer to that. So I went and did a little bit of research. So looking strictly at appointees, there is only one Black person that has been named to this cabinet, and that is former NFL player and head of the White House Opportunity and Revitalization Council, Scott Turner. Now, Scott Turner is now the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, also known as HUD. And so he has served in this role now, starting in this new administration. Previously, he served as executive director of the White House Opportunity and Revitalization Council from 2019 to 2021. He was also a state rep for Texas's 33rd House District. And before entering politics, he was a cornerback in the NFL and played for 3 different teams, including the then Washington Redskins. So there's him. Now, what's very interesting is that apparently in most administrations, the HUD position, the HUD cabinet position is always a Black position. Not sure how I feel about that. There's of course a multitude of people who can effectively speak to housing and different types of crises that are involved with making sure housing is affordable for everyone, things like that. So I don't think that Black people necessarily have the monopoly on being able to do that job, but that seems to be the low-hanging fruit for a lot of administrations. Okay, check, we got a Black person in HUD. Okay, how about Secretary of the Interior? How about Secretary of State? How about, there are so many other roles that there are amazing candidates of color for, but okay, be that as it may. Now, if you're wondering how this compares to his first term, well, he did the same thing with his appointment of Dr. Ben Carson to the position of running HUD. Now, he probably would have been a better pick for Surgeon General since he was a literal brain surgeon, but again, his talents were wasted, stuck in HUD. It was what it was. Interestingly enough, in this current go-round, some of the president's most ardent defenders amongst the Black Republicans got a little restless and a little upset about how things went down. Funny. Didn't think the leopard would eat my face, but here we are, right? So the current president selected a ton of other folks to be firsts. So for instance, Senator Marco Rubio became the first Hispanic Secretary of State. Scott Bessent became the first openly gay Treasury Secretary. By the way, interesting note, rumor has it, he was the one that gave Apartheid Ken, aka Elon Musk, his black eye. Yeah, check that out. Kind of interesting. And then you also have Tulsi Gabbard, who is the first Asian American and the youngest ever Director of National Intelligence. So where do the Black people fit in? Where was the first Black anything in this administration? Crickets. Yeah. However, if you think that means that Black Republicans are completely out in the wilderness and have seen no strides, fear not. They have made some strides in terms of Senator Tim Scott. He is now the chair of the National Republican Senatorial Committee. Representative Byron Donald is more than likely going to be running for governor of Florida. Yeah. And Winsome Sears is trying to become the first Black female governor in the country in the state of Virginia. So there's Black Republicans out there doing some things. They're just not doing it in this president's cabinet. Well, so there you are on that. He's appointed one Black person. Yeah, great. Woohoo, diversity. However, I will say in this administration, he has elevated a number of women to prominent roles. So I guess that's something, right? They're not DEI hires, right? Yeah. So that's the answer to that question. Keep your questions coming. I love diving into these because sometimes you guys give me stuff to think about that I hadn't considered, or like this one, a question I really didn't know the answer to and figured might as well dig in, because as we think about who is going to be setting policy, who has the president's ear, where things are going to be going within the next 3.5 years, you got to look at who's being appointed and who's serving in these key positions. Now, he does keep some folks around him like Kodak Black. Sadly, Snoop apparently performed at his inauguration. I've heard that the only reason why was because he's trying to get a pardon for a friend. Maybe, maybe not. Jury's out on that. But he does keep some Black folks around him. But again, how heavily he weighs their advice, input, expertise remains to be seen. So there you have it. Keep those questions coming. I'm Melba Pearson, also known as the Resident Legal Diva, and this was Ask the Diva. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Take care.
I'm Michael Popak, and I got some big news for our audience. Most of you know me as the co-founder of Midas Touch's Legal AF and the Legal AF YouTube channel, or as a 35-year national trial lawyer. Now, building on what we started together on Legal AF, I've launched a new law firm, the Popak Firm, dedicated to obtaining justice through compassionate and zealous legal representation. At the Popak Firm, we are focused on obtaining justice for those who have been injured or damaged by a life-altering event, by securing the highest dollar recoveries. I've been tirelessly fighting for justice for the last 35 years, so my own law firm organically building on my Legal AF work just feels right. And I've handpicked a team of top-tier trial fighters and settlement experts throughout all 50 states known as big auto injury attorneys who have the know-how to beat heartless insurance companies, corporations, government entities, and their attorneys. Big Auto's attorneys working with my firm are rock stars in their respective states and collectively responsible for billions of dollars in recoveries. So if you or a loved one have been on the wrong side of a catastrophic auto, motor vehicle, rideshare, or truck accident, suffered a personal injury, or been the victim of medical malpractice, employment harassment or discrimination, or suffered a violation of your civil and constitutional rights, then contact the Popak Firm today at 1-877-POPAK-AF or by visiting my website at www.thepopakfirm.com and fill out a free case evaluation form. And if we determine that you have a case and you sign with us, we don't get paid unless you do. The Popak Firm, fighting for your justice every step of the way.